So this is Linda of Christ is King Forever. So everybody's talking about this pardoning of Chauvin. I don't think he should be pardoned. I think what it would do is it would create a bigger fire because it's a knee-jerk reaction to a bigger problem that's too complicated for quick, let's pull this band-aid off type stuff. It'll just make a bigger wound. What I think should happen is he should be tried in front of his peers, not people from his department so much, but officers who are somewhat, some of them retired, some, a few from his department. And I think that part of this answer, the people who should be sitting there with him, I know this sounds crazy, should actually be his department. I think one of the people who should be sitting next to him is one of the people that trained him or his supervisor at his department. They have to answer for why they saw the Pope thing, the John Pope case, and didn't fire him. They have to answer for what their new procedures will be that was used excessively with him, that could actually be used excessively with anybody and everybody, depending on how police officers feel that day. They should answer for how they're going to make police officers feel like they're not the ones taking the fall when they're already the authority that has to walk around and correct everything and be in charge and be, the safety for everybody, but not be safe themselves. Like, because that's kind of what we're expecting. I said they don't know, they don't have the tools or the ability to take full control of an environment the way we think they should. That's why his peers really isn't the people he used to have authority over. It's not his fellow citizens. His peers are police officers. And as soon as you psychologically have pulled somebody who used to have authority in the community down to the level of the people, you've actually put him way down. You've already pulled him to a level of guilty. Because if his, society that he had authority over is judging him, that means he's beyond the shadow of a doubt something went wrong. So it's already psychologically messing with people that he gets to be the whipping boy. You know what I mean? That the fact that every single time you had a bad experience with an officer, you get to take it out on him now. So that was already a bias already. Society was already mad at him because of that video. Apparently, from what I gather, his department said there was nothing wrong with the video, or that it was a procedure he actually used a few times. You can see him use excessively on Pope, John Pope. So his department didn't fire him. So to me, that's approval. And the reason why I think maybe a retrial might be a good idea, not because I believe he's innocent. I think it's a perfect opportunity for there to be an open conversation with other departments talking about the problem that we have as a society. And this is the why I chose this picture, is because with real justice, it cuts both ways. Meaning, as a society, we're going to have to eat it just a little bit. We're going to have to eat it. Meaning, we're going to have to admit when you call 911, you want people to show. Because if you don't admit, regardless of your race, that police officers deserve to be safe and deserve to understand what the procedures are, and for the department to be clear, and for the people who aren't cutting the mustard, they should leave right away. I mean, you're going to either be absent a man who's going to show up and protect you, or you're going to have a plethora, and you might have a few that might mess up, but like you want somebody to show up, right? And I do think this could be the perfect opportunity to talk about the racial part of it, not in a negative way, but more in like a forward-looking, forward-facing way. Meaning, what are we going to do to fix this problem? Not that we're going to shove it under a rug or use a whipping boy or put somebody on an altar. Because did anything get better? Actually, things got worse because of what happened. The black community has suffered more because who's going to want to sign up in a really ultra hard to run area? Nobody. I mean, your sons don't want to do it. I don't want my men in my family to do it. So who's going to do it? So him being tried in front of his peers, first and foremost, I think that's the way it should go. The layout of we're doing this because we want healing in the the way the departments handle these cases, being honest, being transparent, being supportive of whatever's happening, meaning that the department will see it and say, here's our reaction to it. This person's being fired for it, or we're going to change that procedure because of this is what's happening, or because he's done this so many times and we've approved it, we have to take a bit of responsibility for this. And if he's been given, whoever the police officer is, 10 years, he's got to be given 2 or 3 years off since we didn't call it when we should have, because it can't all fall on the police officer. It's just too much stress. And police officers should be paid more. They should be given better healthcare options. They should be given better everything, because they put their life on the line. They're the walking soldiers of our community. They're the civil soldiers of our community, and um, we're not entirely nice to them. But also, there's this racial aspect to it. Maybe there could be information put out by these different departments across the country as to how they're going to regulate. Um, like even if they had like a report put out on their websites showing how many times certain races have been arrested, how many altercations have happened with these races, how many of these races had um, guns, were aggressive. I mean, if people could see those statistics, and it was actually more localized and less nationalized, maybe it would be easier for not only the local communities to see what's really going on, and that transparency, but also it'd be easier for the department to be honest and say, yeah, we see there's actually a trend here and we need to fix it. I don't know. Something that is not just reactionary, but healing. And I do think police officer being tried in front of their peers and the department coming out and saying, hey, because this happened under us, because we we hold ourselves responsible. His partner went to jail for 3 years. So even if there's excessive force used, and um, all the officers present would have to be possibly looking at together if they saw excessive force and they didn't stop it. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, that's not what I would want, but like at some point, there's a type of pH that's wrong with the relationship between officers sometimes, because cult mindsets can come into play. For example, with the John Pope thing, the officers, they walked in, turned their back, and didn't really address the fact that he was on his neck for a long time, for 15 minutes. Other things can come into play. Sometimes other officers see and know that one officer is hot-headed. This is the procedure he does. He's always doing this. So it's better to keep our mouth shut. We're not going to create a conflict and division within us right now in front of the family. There's probably a code for that. It's probably not a safe thing to do, to have officers arguing with each other. That doesn't look like you're in unison. But the fact that it's not addressed later, the fact there's not, hey, you do that again, I'm going to report you. Maybe they're afraid. Maybe they know the guy and they don't really want to ruffle his feathers. There's that other aspect to it, this relationship between dudes I don't understand. But also, it gets really strange if you're forced to work with people that you're really not trying to be around. So I understand that's a part of this as well. I don't know. And I know that this is like after the end of the day. This is after so many calls when you're sick and you're tired of people. That's why I can't judge it. I don't think any human can judge it that's not an officer who hasn't been in that same situation before, because I think they're on high alert, and it's just not fair. It's not fair for me, somebody who's comfortable, knows when I call the police they'll come. That's not fair for me to never have been in that situation on a regular basis. To have my life, to put on my uniform knowing every day this could be my last day because I made one false move. Now, on top of that, I could also go to jail because this person just so happened not to be the same race as me. I'm not talking about Chauvin, by the way. I'm talking about just in general. Um, that's weird to a lot of black officers. I've seen a lot of them talk about this. So, honestly, that's why I don't think he should be pardoned. I think that if anything, it should be something that should be resurrected so that healing can happen. And I know people would throw it out of proportion, but they would really throw a pardon out of proportion. There's no way in heck they're not going to just blow their lid. I mean, this is how you get that pendulum swinging from one end all the way back to the other and reopening some wounds. But I think a retrial with his true peers and having those steps being public of how to fix this from happening in the future, and maybe showing statistics on how things have been better since this incident has happened. Uh, Also giving some advice, like some experts. There are experts out there on what police departments can do to try to fix this and screen for the racial stuff, racism, how to screen for maybe mental health issues or stress within officers, stuff like this. I don't really think it has to be cut and dry. I think it should be something that should be all encompassing because it is such a mess, that would help bring people together. And I think a retrial would do that, because it might just confirm that, yeah, what he's been doing and his technique was always wrong, and there's definitely something going on with him. But a pardon is just too, no, there's no way that would ever go over well. So I don't support that. But I do think there needs to be something done where certain communities feel like they can be safe. But I also think those communities also deserve police officers. Right now, there are communities who are not served because of this very reason. And that's not right. Everybody deserves to feel safe, whether it's from the police or from the hostile neighbors and stuff. So the reason why I'm talking about this is to practice being objective and saying it out loud and putting it into the universe, because the justice system doesn't work the way I'm thinking it should work. Doesn't mean it's wrong, it's just not working the way I think it should. Now, the problem is you have this one instance with this one police officer, and people are all looking at it and coming away with different things that 100% affect our society, regardless of how you feel about it. People aren't signing up to be police officers because they're scared to be him, Derek Chauvin. They don't want to be him. So they're not. So you don't get protection because of Derek Chauvin. You get less protection. And so it's like, oh, well, less racist people. Some of those people are not racist. A lot of people looking at this, and we're all coming from different angles, and it all has real life effects. So that's the objective take, not comment on whether or not somebody's guilty or innocent. Simply saying the way that it's all being run is just wrong, because if the core of this was actually done well, then healing would happen. And I'm noticing that with Jesus. Jesus just does stuff that's counter what the world is doing. It's the opposite. He came here and conquered the world by going up on a cross. And he didn't look around and say, I want vengeance, I need blood. He said, God, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And if all of us could let that sword cut us like that, and I know that sounds horrible, you'd be surprised. Because I really do think it was the death of Stephen, the martyr Stephen, our first martyr recorded. Apostle Paul saw that. He saw Stephen be martyred. I mean, that's who's recording it, is his persecutor. You'd be surprised how many persecutors decide to follow Jesus. That saint, when he died, 5 more people rose up in his place because they saw his death. And sometimes when you come across somebody who's like, yeah, I know you hurt me, but like, I'm in Christ. I can't strike you back. I'm going to be loving. I'm going to be caring. I'm going to say, God, forgive them, because they know not. All of a sudden, you get a taste of a person who's running the reality differently. And you've decided, you know what, the way I'm running things, I'm putting way too much energy trying to control people that I cannot control. We can't control the police officers. They're going to have a bad day. And what we need is for them to heal, because if they were healed, instead of us making sure that we fight them and make them submit, maybe they wouldn't want to make us submit either. Maybe there's a tension there, that if somebody finally just gave up and said, okay, let's all just make sure you're taken care of, so I feel like I'm protected by somebody who knows how to be safe themselves emotionally, mentally, and knows how to protect others from coworkers that might actually have excessive force. That would be the core of the problem that we could actually fix, not just us being angry and overreactive. And I know this is all just falling on deaf ears because nobody's hearing it. Um, but at the end of the day, the reason why I'm doing this is because if we're called to reign with Christ, I want to be able to prove on record and say, this is my judgment of something. Not like I'm judging something like a person, because I never said if he was guilty or innocent, which is a hard thing not to do. I'm judging the situation in a way that would propel people, society, um, a small group of people, whatever, into healing. So I'm trying to take a small situation and say, see, if you were to give me something like this, I would promote healing. I would work to make it better in all these different ways by thinking a bit outside the box. Because if anybody could actually get peers to judge somebody, it would be Jesus, and he would be the perfect judge. And so I wouldn't have to say if somebody's guilty or innocent. That doesn't interest me at all. So it's learning my place. It's saying I'm not supposed to say if somebody's guilty or innocent. I'm supposed to provide a healthy, thriving environment to make sure society can heal and do better, to be the salt, you know, to preserve what's good. And salt also can act like a disinfectant. It can kill bad things like bacterias, and it preserves. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to do this on a intellectual, spiritual um, level that's proving I can see it. I can analyze the issues by isolating the problems, uh, with the hopes of executing perfect justice and providing um, and presenting what could be types of healing. Kind of like being part of the brainstorming of a table here. Like if there's a round table of people and there's a problem, I want to be able to brainstorm so that the judge can have all the information he needs to provide the justice that heaven demands. And if you're listening, and you're a Christian, I'm calling you to do this too. However, the Holy Spirit guides you. Uh, Somewhere, put a record and start practicing being objective and seeing the truth in a dark world that hates and rejects and is like the world's skin crawls at the idea of truth because it all reflects Christ, just like the moon reflects the sun, right? And if you hate light, then it doesn't matter where the reflection is coming from. The world just hates it. So if you're able to love it, isolate it, and explain, articulate why it's true, and just put it on display, not for others to see or for man to see, but for God to see, because um, what you do in secret God sees, which is a good thing because a lot of people think there is an edge to that. That's like, well, if you do it in secret, God will see you. But it's more for us as Christians, um, all the good that uh, we do in private, God will see it. Now, I don't promote my channel or anything. I don't say, hey, I'm more just or objective than anybody. I'm not bragging. I boast in the Lord, meaning the only reason why I'm able to have eyes to see and ears to hear and a brain to digest this information and the Holy Spirit to guide is because of Him. All of it comes from Him. So I don't gain credit for anything of it. But I do feel like it's a good way to just put on display my own way of showing and some type of proof that I'm trying to be objective. A year from now, I might look at this video and go, this is not at all objective. I could do that, but it's just my way of starting. And so that I can come back, look at it, and go, I might have thought differently this year about what I said last year, so that you can see progress. That's what I'm saying. Tracking progress. Well, this is Linda of Christ is King Forever. May God be with you.